Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Good evening, viewers, and welcome to Jaipur Military Dialogue. Under the aegis of Clause, we have had a 2 weeks break, last two episodes due to the commitments around. We are not able to catch up with everyone. And welcome General Sudhakar Jee, a prominent geopolitical expert, international affairs, and a person with a knowledge which covers every aspect. Today, after covering all the immediate neighborhood countries and the area around our country, we have now into the Arabian Sea. Now, Arabian Sea, if you look at it, we had covered Bay of Bengal while discussing Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Sri Lanka. So it came willy-nilly that Bay of Bengal was covered. I'll be brief because General Sudhakar Ji will take on subsequently. He has to have a break and he'll come back later on. So, brief about Arabian Sea, 2,400. It is kilometers in width and length, encompassing our west area. I'll just say that the Western strategy of India is through Arabian Sea. What all we do in the west of our Bharat is through the Arabian Sea. Who controls Arabian Sea controls the maritime trade and vital energies into that area. With that, a little bit of two sentences, I will go to General Sudhakar Ji to cover up the aspects related to Arabian Sea. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Birendra. Thank you. Good evening. And
Good evening, sir.
I totally admire and appreciate your selection of the topic. Since we had discussed, I take it that you have applied yourself and thereafter deliberated and come onto this particular issue. I fully endorse your approach and thought process. This is actually the core concern and one of the core concerns of India. Now, without digressing too much, since I have an international channel waiting for me to give my views on certain issues happening in Pakistan, let me just convey very broadly. Now, why is it important? Why Arabian Sea is important? Both of us, we have spoken to each other. We have discussed about Bay of Bengal, if not in entirety, to quite a substantial length and breadth. Arabian Sea has to be understood from the perspective of a couple of issues. First and foremost thing is that why should we study Arabian Sea? Arabian Sea is sea, and it is part of the Indian Ocean. And part of Indian Ocean, we need to understand and realize how big is the Indian Ocean. It is 10,000 kilometers roughly, north-south. When you say north-south, what it means is from Antarctica right up to the tip of the Bay of Bengal, the northern tip, and west to east, from east coast Africa to west coast of Australia, or tip of the South Africa, Cape of Good Hope to the tip of Australia. If you take that stage, it comes to roughly around 7,000 kilometers. At places you will find 6,700, at places 7,000 kilometers. At places also you will find 9,000. So take the average, around 78,000 kilometers. So what am I trying to state here? This is the third largest. It occupies 20% of the water mass in the entire planet. It is the third largest ocean. It is the only ocean in the name of India, name of a country. And this ocean, it has got many subparts. As far as the Indian subcontinent is concerned, towards the east is Bay of Bengal, towards the west is Arabian Sea, and towards the south is part of the Indian Ocean, which I was going through. They have computed some 6,100 kilometers of coastal this thing. But what is important is the threats are actually emerging in different forms and hues. We have had 26/11. Few days back, we observed the anniversary of 26/11. We lost 166 people on that day. And it has been impinging and also impacting the formulation of security strategy. How best the nation can prepare? We have the Russia-Ukraine war going to touch 4 years now. We have had spider wave launched by Ukraine 4,500 kilometers deep inside the territory of Russia, and then knocking off 40 strategic bombers, which are meant for nuclear warheads. Each bomber is almost close to, they say, more than 100 crores, but I think it's around 50 or 60 crores. So that is the kind of, the threat which is, and look at the drone warfare. There are very dangerous drones which are being developed underwater, and dangerous drones also with loiter ammunition in the sky. There are satellites which are suspected to be being developed for providing platforms for very, very dangerous hypersonic weapons, nuclear warhead, and you have such kind of weapon systems which will fly faster than the sound. Those kind of things. It will avoid the detection by radar. So such are the issues which are emerging, and also the radicalization is rampant. The three spheres of influence which are expanding are or having an influence are under the paradigm of the concept of Thucydide trap, that no established power will ever accept any rising power to come anywhere close to its footing. No established power will ever allow any rising power to come close to its footing. This is based on the Thucydide. Who was Thucydide? He was a historian, Greek historian. And in his historical studies, he has brought out this point. And Professor Allison of USA, political scientist, who has carried out extensive research, his paper started circulating in 2015. And in that, he said, out of 500 years, past 500 years, he has narrowed down to 16 cases. Out of 16, 12 such cases have led to conflicts, disastrous kind of conflicts. And therefore, he says that unless we identify our threat accurately, we may be putting our resources at a wrong place. Therefore, I compliment Brigadier Virendra for having chosen Arabian Sea. And another issue that you need to understand is that what is the aim and objective of India? Aim and objective of India is to be a 30 trillion US dollar economy by 2047 or before that. In doing so, we would also ensure that the per capita income of an individual goes up from $2,800 to 14,000 to 20,000. Only then you become a global. This is the parameter which is laid down by the United Nations agencies who are dealing with it. So to achieve that, we have to focus on our economic development, economic might. So in order to do that, we need to understand what are the central points which have a direct bearing or which contribute towards the economy. Export. How much are we exporting today? Approximately $847 billion. What is our target? By 2030, India is aiming to achieve $2 trillion in form of export. So what else do you require to achieve this kind of a target? You require independent corridors. You require, like we have 12 independent corridors, and we are targeting to achieve something close to 26 corridors by 2030. Just take a look at China. What does China have? As on today, China has got 34 corridors, independent corridors. China has got many more. We are aiming from 12 to 26, and we have only 13 major harbors, whereas China has got 34 major harbors. We have 199 minor harbors. China has got 2,000 minor harbors. And as far as the capacity of the harbors is concerned, it is 20 million TEU, India's capacity, whereas China's capacity is 270 million TEU. The latest one that we have actually built is Vardhaman Port, which is 23.4 million TEU. And similarly, India is dependent on foreign ships for movement of its cargo. So how many ships does India have? India has got only 1,500 ships. Majority of them are likely to be phased out very soon. We are going in for 1,000 more by 2030. So how does India then transport? We hire the ships. The world today has got 1,20,000 ships available, major ships, and we hire it from outside agency. That means our dependency on outside agency is almost to the tune of 90 to 95%. Yeah, should I come? Okay. So I'll come back, and Virendra, you can take it from now, and thereafter I'll connect it with the balance portion of mine. Okay, I'll come back.
Roger, sir. Roger, sir. All the best, sir. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Gen Sudhakar Jee, for the inputs given. And actually, when you look at it, the one of the no, person who is there as Humanity 9231 has said that it is Sindhu Sagar. Yes, historically, the many things are there, and we have been saying Arabian Sea, but absolutely correct. Sindhu Sagar earlier name have been there. But the issue which needs to be highlighted is that Arabian Sea, so called, it has India run through the east with 2,500 kilometer of the coastal area, longest coastline on the Arabian Sea. Major ports being Mumbai, Nava, Sheva, and Kochi. And then Pakistan is there around 1,050 kilometers coastline. Iran is there. Iran and the Chawar fort, which India is looking after. And Oman, Yemen, Maldives, Somalia. The issue which comes is that the actually, when you look at it, Arabian Sea is a prominent uh, maritime trade route, and a security aspect comes with the trade. So that needs to be seen. It is our relationship with these countries have been very important. I look beyond the Arabian Sea. When I look beyond the Arabian Sea, we look at these countries and our relationship with those countries. That needs to be connected. And what needs to be connected is that, yes, we have economic ties, security cooperations, and development aid. So these issues which are there with the Yemen, Oman, I'll not go into the details which are being cooperation is being done with Iran. And if you look at the historical significance of Arabian Sea and connecting Suez Canal into the Arabian Sea and the trade routes which are there, almost 80% of the trade of India is goes through that the Arabian Sea. It is almost 80%. 12% of global trade passing through the Suez Canal comes through this. So, and 57 million worth of goods transported annually through Suez Canal. So that also is the connectivity which needs to be seen. The important thing which is there is the oil pipelines which are passing through the Arabian Sea is the most important one. And the aspect covers up that the oil routes, which are very essential for the energy security and energy things, is the one which needs to be um, secured and developed. The Africa Asia geopolitics hangs on Arabian Sea. Probably what is required is like we have our Western Naval Command on the western borders, situated on the western banks. There is a requirement that we redesignate it, maybe on to the designation when we say that it is part of the Western Naval Command and the Arabian Sea or Sindh, what one of the gentlemen on the comments box is saying, Sindh Sagar. So that's the one which needs to be seen. One aspect which, when we look at the Arabian Sea, we connect through Suez Canal, we connect to the Mediterranean Sea. Now we have to see how things happen. The Suez Canal was constructed, developed, and subsequently Egypt is looking after Suez Canal. It is a nationalized canal in 1956, and Egypt is looking after it. The trade through that is very important. It had not been disturbed whenever any uh, conflicts have been there. Suez Canal have generally been peaceful, except whenever we have few incidents of the ships coming on to that. We had seen the threat perception through the sea. Now, if we analyze further I would say, the security concerns of India through Arabian Sea. Why through Arabian Sea? Because we have our, I don't use the word enemy because it's a enemy word is there. If enemy is there, we have to destroy the enemy. So I don't use the word enemy. I'll say that our adversaries like Pakistan, though it's the enemy, but if I use enemy, then it is incumbent that we cannot sleep till the time we destroy the enemy. So Pakistan is onto the Arabian Sea side, and the threats perception have been there. We have had incidents like what happened in Mumbai. So those incidents are there, and it is an open sea coastal area, like what we say, due to on the land route we have the open borders. So sea is like that. So there is a necessity that we have to look from the security point of view. Maritime security is a very important aspect. Probably I'll go a step further when I talk of the maritime security. What needs to be done is we have our various structures into place. There is also a requirement to a maritime command across, which looks after all the aspects of maritime security of a nation. The vision has to be there. And like I said, who controls Arabian Sea controls the global trade. That aspect needs to be seen. It is a very important issue. There are some elements of piracy which are going on into the Arabian Sea. Like we have Houthis are there. It will happen whenever you have a trade. The incidents of robbery, it is something like piracy, like a robbery is there. They that aspect into the sea will always be there. Illegal fishing will be there. Geopolitical tensions will be there, and other issues. We can coin that terrorism through sea is also one aspect which needs to be seen. The impact on global trade is very, very high in Arabian Sea. If imagine if the commercial maritime activities is stopped in Arabian Sea, what impact it will have on the world? It connects the Europe through Mediterranean Sea through Suez Canal. It comes to India. Thereafter, it goes to the other places. That aspect is the one. Now, when you look at the right of the way, this is a thing which needs to be seen. That maritime security plus from Mediterranean Sea to Suez Canal to the Arabian Sea. Yes, Suez Canal is the one which is being controlled. Is there a requirement that Arabian Sea we have some sort of a security corridor, Indian security corridor in Arabian Sea, which is practically, when you look at it, not a physical structure like Suez Canal, but a corridor which gives secure lines of communication for the international trade route. This aspect can be seen from a angle that for the security plus our own security and security for the commercial trade, our own trade and the international trade, and yes, for revenue generation. So it will be something like a security corridor in Arabian Sea provided by India to the commercial transport ships which are coming in, and it can be called a security corridor, not physically, but yes, bounded by the our ships and other measures which can be taken place. So Arabian Sea now, when you look at it, is an open sea, and it connects to the Indian Ocean. The depth which is there is around 4,000 meters is the depth approximately. I say 4,000 feet or 4,000 meters is the one which can take on any amount of big ships are there. Slightly uh, going on to the details of our deployment into the Arabian Sea, we have our uh, ships which are permanently located onto the Arabian Sea. I'll not go into details because it has security implications. And that overlooks our adversaries, our so-called enemies. Pakistan is there. So we overlook that. If we control Arabian Sea, it will take on anything which comes from that side. Sea routes to the world. Now, sea routes to the world is Madagascar coming down through Africa, going towards South China Sea through Thailand, and that route is one. The routes which have been utilized is again the Arabian Sea, so is being utilized. One issue which comes very important is I coin it as a double I. That is the influence and interest of a nation. Now, the double I, influence and interest, is a very prominent aspect which needs to be seen in Arabian Sea. We have our own mechanics in terms of our weapon systems and missile systems. Our ships are there, aircrafts are there, where we can influence up to maximum. I think we have a system which can go across Arabian Sea, and we can control the Arabian Sea and influence any decision into the Arabian Sea onto the nations which are along the coast of Arabian Sea onto our this other side of the Arabian Sea. So that is one aspect. Second aspect, when I say the second eye, is the interest. Interest into Arabian Sea falls into around two, three categories. The important category is a security concern. The security concern is the one. The second one is a commercial concern. The third issue is that the dominance of Arabian Sea. So three aspects are there. So first I'll cover the security aspect of the Arabian Sea. Now we have around 2,500 kilometers of the coastal line on Arabian Sea. That coastal line is the one which first of all needs to be secured. Our economic zones which are there, that needs to be secured, and beyond that is the one with the deployment of our various you know, capable ships are there, like aircraft carriers are there, and deploying them onto that place is the one which it will increase our influence in that area. We are doing it, not that we are not doing it, but probably why, like what General Sudhakar Jee had said, that we have selected this particular subject was just to bring in a thought process that Arabian Sea has to be discussed as Arabian Sea. Now, we should not uh, club it with when we say this, the oceans and the sea, and we discuss our naval parlance into the aspect of the development and influence of navy. So Arabian Sea is important because if Arabian Sea is controlled and we influence Arabian Sea in terms of our strategic development into that area, probably our western coastline, that is 2,500 kilometers of coastline, will be under control and will be secure. How it is to be done, like I said, yes, Navy is the one, our Coastal Guard is the one which needs to be further developed, enhanced. And one aspect which needs to be seen is not only Navy, not only Coastal Guard, it is our commercial activities which are there, our commercial ships are there, that also needs to be co-opted into this. And probably what all they can do is they cannot partake in the strategic military naval operations, but yes, they can be our source of our information. Information is very important, and maybe at times they have to be co-opted into the operations also if required. So that aspect needs a look, a demarcation, a selection, types of those commercial ships which are there, how to be utilized in times of maybe a conflict in that area. So that needs to be seen. The other aspect which the second eye, which when what I said, the strategy is the one, the navy aspect is there, security is there, and the commercial activities were the one. Commercial activities, I think there are almost 80% of the commercial activities are going through the Arabian Sea. It needs to be enhanced. It needs to be secured. It needs to be done in a more revenue generation way. The effect has to be less. Probably like what we have our Bombay oil is there. We have our oil resources in Arabian Sea. That also is one of the aspects needs to be seen. The resources of the Arabian Sea underwater needs to be tapped, and tapped in a very big way. So that aspect of developing it commercially is also very important. And the third aspect which is there is when you look at the influence into that area, with the security aspect is there, navy, land, and influence the area around. If we influence the area around, there's no requirement to go on to the coast of other nations. It should be taken. I take it as a Arabian Sea, not only a sea. I take it as a piece of area. It is a water area, but yes, if you look at it, it is something like a huge area which is available to us and which needs to be dominated by various means. The influence part which comes in, that if we have our uh, strategy located, strategic things into our thought process and development taking place, and connect to the like-minded, the countries across, we have connected to those like-minded countries. We have various relationships into commercial activities are there, diplomatic, Chabar Fort, and a step further is required to be done, that all these countries which are onto the Arabian Sea coastal line needs to be addressed separately, and that focus is required into the strategic importance of Arabian Sea. With that, I again welcome Gen Sudhakar Jee is back. Over to you, sir. You can cover the balance what you had left
Uh,
out.
I hope you don't mind because you're the master of ceremony, you're the anchor. These are bad manners, I know, but couldn't help it. There are multiple channels they wanted to take my
Oh, yes.
views on issues. So
Clash of time is there.
basically, what I was saying, India is dependent on the foreign vessels or foreign ships. 95% of our requirement is from foreign vessels, and we have just about close to 5% of the vessels required for transportation. Why am I stressing this point is people need to understand that 90 to 95% of our export is by maritime trade. 90 to 95%. 55% of our trade is it goes through the Malacca Strait, through South China Sea to towards the Asia Pacific, and 45% through Suez Canal. Now, 45% by volume or by value is a huge quantum. Plus, 83% of our energy security is imported. 83%, sorry, I stand corrected. It is 87.7% of our energy is imported as on today, which includes the liquid natural gas, 10% of which 41.2% is to come from Qatar. And lately, in past 7-10 days, I think we have given some indication or commitment to USA that we'll be buying 10% of our liquid natural gas. It will be happening for the first time from such a far off place. So therefore, the cooking gas may turn out to be expensive in our kitchens. That we need to wait and watch. So, plus, what else we need to understand is that when I talk about 87.7% or 88% is being imported gradually, you see, every year the economy of India, the consumption of the fossil fuel is increasing. There was a study carried out on this about 10 odd years back, is increasing by minimum 8.8% every year. So when the increase is going on like this, somebody asked me a question, I think today or yesterday, that in Andamans we have discovered so and so oil field. Discovery of an oil field is different from mining it or harnessing, taking it to the place of refinement, and then making it combustible or usable. You see, the grade of fossil fuel that we, and it may not be of the quantum that we are looking for. It is peanuts. It is just about 2.7 or 7%. I may be wrong. I don't have the exact figure. I don't remember. But India's requirement, look at the kind of requirement. 87.7% of our fuel requirement, energy requirement is being imported. And much of it, I would say almost 83.2% comes through the sea lanes of communication. Now, what is sea lane of communication? Sea lane of communication, as far as Indian Ocean is concerned, has to be understood that it generally going by the existing definition, it starts from Persian Gulf and goes through the Arabian Sea, and thereafter skirts around. When I say Arabian Sea, it passes through the established sea lane of communication, passes through 9-degree channel. The 9-degree channel is between the Minicoy Island and our what is our island here? Lakshadweep. It's almost about 200-kilometer wide and 2,756 odd meters deep. So through this, almost about 70% of vessels of the world, they pass through. 50%, more than 50% of the containers pass through, and more than 50 to 55% of oil is passing through annually. China has got its trade, which is almost close to 3 trillion. At places you will find it is only 1 trillion. No, that is incorrect. China's 60% by value of its complete trade, it passes through maritime, these lanes, some through the Pacific, Asia Pacific, and some through this particular lane. It also imports 83, close to 80, more than 80% of its oil and the fossil fuel. So talking about India alone, the Arabian Sea is very, very important. And as like I was sharing a little while back, we have got 13 major harbors, and there are declarations and initiatives taken by the government. In the latest budget of 2025, I think more than 25,000 have been announced for creation of infrastructure, creating new ports, deep sea ports. There are many of them which have been identified as also to increase the production of our ships and vessels. China has got the capacity to make 1,700 vessels in a year. USA is not even 50% of that. India produces one vessel or two vessels in almost 5 to 10 years. So we don't have that kind of skill. We don't have the infrastructure. We have to work very hard consistently in a sustained manner for next couple of years. So similarly, let's come to the shipyards. India has got 27 major shipyards. China has got 170 shipyards. So likewise, if you look at the other issues are, as far as the security are concerned, when you cross the Gulf about the Oman Seas, that is the Strait of Hormuz, 2024. Okay, now let's talk about the Indian Navy ships. As on today, Indian Navy has got 140 ships. Put together, it's around 297, all kinds of vessels in the Navy. And Pakistan has got almost about 187 or 190 odd ships or vessels. Submarines, we have 19 submarines. Pakistan has got 6 plus 2, I think 8 submarines which are operational. China is helping them to produce the submarines. The nuclear powered submarines are also under production. They're trying their best for triad facility, for the nuclear triad. Similarly, we are planning to achieve a target of, let's say by 2030, 155 to 160 the warships, and by 2035, 175 to 200 warships. Okay, so these are the targets we are looking at. Actual muscle or strength of a navy is determined not by aircraft carrier. Aircraft carrier, you have 2 of them, and Pakistan doesn't have any. But the fact remains that it is actually decided by, or indication is given by, the type of submarines that you have. We have 17 conventional powered attack submarines. We have 2 nuclear powered ballistic missile submarines, SSBNs, and total is 19 submarines, plus 1 is on lease, SSBN, in 2025, and 6 more are likely to be produced with the help of, I think, Germany, if I am not wrong. Yes, that is as far as the India that 75 plan is concerned, the project is concerned. But more than all this is, there is something which I wanted to cover, is that Arabian Sea, we need to look at how do you define the Arabian Sea. One is the coastline, which we have, which Brigadier Virender has already explained. What are the other countries? There are 8 countries which are bordering the Arabian Sea. Which are these countries? One is Pakistan, second is Iran, third is Oman, fourth is you have Madagascar, fifth you would have Mauritius, sixth you have Seychelles, seventh you have Maldives. Where else? What else is there? I think to an extent Sri Lanka should also be counted. So when
Yemen
you,
and Somalia, sir.
acha, Yemen and
Hi, sir. Yemen is this.
Yemen is there. Okay, okay, fine. So now off the cuff, I'm talking. So Yemen, take Yemen. So total, there are 8 countries which are registered in our foreign policy document. These are the ones which are given there. And so when you identify these countries, do they have the footprint of India in a tangible and tenable manner, which will enhance our response capability in times of criticality? We have something at Seychelles, we have something at Mauritius, we have something coming up in Madagascar, but do we have something at Maldives? Answer is yes. Do we have something at Yemen? Answer is no. So what do you have in Oman? Oman, we have Dukum. Dukum is the base which is being developed. As of now, we are only enhancing our logistic dependency. But what I'm trying to say, with a 4.19 trillion US dollar economy, we actually need to calibrate our approach in a manner that till India achieves a target of 10 to 15 trillion US dollar economy, till then, our dependency on countries like China will remain. So, therefore, without compromising our national interest and strategic autonomy, we need to adopt such a kind of a spectrum, divide our approach into short, medium, and long term, and ensure that our naval shipbuilding capability is enhanced. And after that, we after that we see what else is lacking with the, because the new emerging threats are something different. So therefore we need to balance out things between the national security and socio-economic development, give priority because the security is on an edge now. Things are very, very tight and difficult, and we have to enhance our budget allocation. I'm glad that the government of India has reversed or modified its decision on Agniveer. I'm given to understand the full quota is going to be taken in and towards the targets of 13 lakh of military population, because the threats are enhancing from all sides, and India needs to take a very comprehensive and holistic call as far as this particular issue is concerned, the Arabian Sea. And also, last point, if you allow me, Virendra, people must know that when we talk about Indian Ocean till 2010-11, there are far and few foreign vessels, warships which are moving. Between 2011 till 2025, this 14 years. When I say 2011, it may be 1 year up and down. Okay. There is a significant rise of warships of different countries of the world, from UK, from USA, France, such like countries, Germany, Canada. But there is one country which is very, very worrisome for us. That is China. China used to have across the Malacca Strait prior to 2011 one odd spy vessel, one odd submarine, and an odd frigate. The number of vessels in respect of China, firstly, the military or the naval plan vessels, they have increased. In the open source, you will find 7 to 8. My research, without any ambiguity, indicates that China's number of vessels have gone up significantly annually, I am saying. The annual figure statistically from 2011 onwards, if you actually plot it on the graph, you will see that the number of submarines earlier used to be only one. Now it has come to three. One in Bay of Bengal, one is in Arabian Sea, and one is towards the Strait of Hormuz. There are three submarines. Okay, so suffice to say, to sustain one submarine, there has to be an ecosystem, something to maintain the surveillance, something to ensure the logistic sustainability, and something to guide and navigate, etc., etc. There is to be only one spy vessel. Now the spy vessel numbers have gone to minimum three: one in Bay of Bengal, one in Arabian Sea, and one towards the Persian Gulf. I am given to understand I'm still trying to collect the data. Hambantota is turning out to be a big hub of its shipping vehicle, surveillance vessels, submarine, as also the warships. And look at the points. You see, China has got Chapku. It is pronounced as Chapku, but written as Kyapku, Kyakphu, Kyapku, Kyapku port, Myanmar. It is turning out to be a big hub of all the naval resources. It has got an oil pipeline. It has got optical fiber. It has got a multimodal transportation system right from Singapore across Thailand, going right up to Sichuan province, 3,600 kilometers. They have carried out successful trial of cargo movement, coal movement from the Singapore itself, going right up to the Sichuan, Yunnan province, sorry. And there is an oil pipeline also developed. There is a national highway which is developed. So that is as far as the Chafku base is concerned. Similarly, they have Kuku's Island. Kuku's Island is to a one tiny island which is nearest distance from Andaman is 17 kilometers. They have got a watchtower. They have got a radar station. They have got ATC. They have got an extended, reclaimed, extended ALG, Advanced Landing Ground. That means they have taken out mud from the sea. They have reclaimed. Earlier it was 800 meters. Now I'm given to understand this is crossed 1200 meters. They're trying to reach a target of 1800 meters so that the heavy transport aircraft can come and land there. So similarly, when you talk about Hambantota, the nearest airfield we have taken, and that is with India now. Just to keep an eye, it's around 18 kilometers from Hambantota. That airbase is with us now. We are keeping an eye on Chinese progression movement. Next, we have a Jatau. Jatau has just come up. We have started investing money there. We are trying to build up a base at Jatau. Jatau is the mini Koi Island. And thereafter, you have Madagascar, you have Seychelles, you have Maldives. Maldives, earlier, prior to this present leadership, we had gone in for having an agreement with Maldives, and we are planning to establish radar stations to keep the skies, give us some advance information about the approaching enemy from that side. So that was actually undone by this present president, and now there is a turnaround by him, and I believe and assume that project has been further implemented on the ground or being implemented. Now China is making a dockyard of its submarines in one of the islands there in Maldives. So we need to have apply the theory of reciprocity. Whatever is our adversary is doing, we need to have. I am not saying eye for eye and tooth for tooth. We cannot match the capability because the economy of China is 20 trillion US dollar. Ours is 4.19. So we have to actually factor in multiple issues and factor in the soft power capability that we have. We have to extend and give due importance to the strategic patience that we have to show. We have to collaborate with like-minded nations in the world and make them commit on the ground for various developmental activities. Not allow China. This is one of the methods of containment. So, having covered all this, also keep in mind that China has gone in for long distance fishing vessel constellation. Long distance fishing vessel constellation. For example, Operation Sindoor took place in the month of May 2025. People may not be aware that ever since the pandemic started, there is a civil military fusion concept as far as the Chinese new doctrine of modernization is concerned. In the fusion of the resources, they have started employing the PLA soldiers in the garb of civilians in the fishing vessels on the name of going for fishing to long distances. They operate outside the economic exclusive zone of Hambantota, Maldives, or you go towards countries, other countries that I have named, Oman or countries there in the Persian Gulf. Or talk about Iran, we are talking about Chabahar, they are talking about Gwadar. So, as on today, the rough calculation of this long distance civilian fishing vessels. It goes beyond 1600 to 2600. They are in different pockets, different groups. Before Operation Sindoor, they had been deployed on the name of fishing in the deep seas and harvesting them, sending them to the nearest port, drying, and thereafter doing all these activities, sending them to the China mainland. But actually speaking, the same vessels they can be modified in minimum time. They can carry out logistic supply or sustainability exercise, communication, surveillance purpose, etc., for the main plan resources which are being employed on the ground. This also has to be kept in mind. And besides that, Arabian Sea also, we should not forget about the Chabar port, which I'm sure Brigadier Virender would have covered, because Chabar is a very important actually port as far as India is concerned because of the north-south corridor, 7,200 kilometers, and it goes through. This is the only means of connectivity, land connectivity by multimodal transportation system with Afghanistan. So, therefore, all I would say at this juncture is that a lot of things are happening. We all know what is happening in Yemen. We know what is happening in Red Sea. Red Sea has been totally militarized. It is dominated by the Houthis and the Yemenis, and they disallow any kind of movement of resources, naval resources of countries which are inimical to the interest of Iran. When I talk about Iran, what I mean is that these are all octopus doctrine based. What is octopus doctrine? The head of octopus is Iran, and the tentacles to include the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, and Hadid al Saib, 4H, plus the militias. These are all different tentacles of this octopus who have to be once a while, they have to be hammered by Israel by going by their doctrine and philosophy of mow the grass. They have to keep cutting the grass, keep hitting them so as to keep decimating and keep weakening them. Like today, I was in one of the channels. They asked me, "Ki, why Iran is getting ready?" You see, Iran is expecting that there will be an attack from Israel sooner or later. So therefore, it is getting ready. It is in that concept of mow the grass. Every 6 months, 9 months, or once in a year, this attack is going to come from Israel. So they have to defend themselves. So therefore, Chawar is very, very important as far as India is concerned. We have already imported a high grade quality of coal from Russia, I think more than once, to the best of my memory and knowledge, through multimodal transportation system. Plus, it gives us an additional connectivity with the Soviet Union, no, sorry, Russia, and the Arctic is melting. It gives us a different avenue of approach to Arctic. Because when the Arctic is melting, in the Arctic Council, today you have 8 countries, India is an observer. India needs to bid for becoming a member, a permanent member of this council, so that we have our say. We need to be allowed to establish a base in Arctic. So these are the futuristic thoughts I thought I must share with you to make your passion or success. And I hope I have been able to do justice in such a short time, Virendra.
Thank you, sir. And very aptly brought out the issues related to Arabian Sea. Actually, it is quite a huge, I would say, a vast subject. And Arabian Sea itself, if you dwell upon it, probably the sea part of it was also a subject which can take a lot of time. Commercial activities into that, the natural resources, the fishing things are there, the commercial activities, the global trade which goes through Arabian Sea. Around 80% of the global oil trade goes through Arabian Sea, and all these aspects are there. And the important ones are the India's influence into that area, and relook, I would say, a maritime security relook onto Arabian Sea is a necessity. Maybe a review of that is required to be done, and the nations across what we have other side of the Arabian Sea, uh, an effort, more effort to connect and bring them along with the thought process of India is a necessity. Maybe some form of a forum, I am calling it a forum, some form of a Arabian Sea forum needs to be made led by India of these countries. And to these, this Arabian Sea Forum will look into the aspects of the Arabian Sea, the security aspect, which is the piracy which is going on, and the Houthi attacks is there, maritime terrorism is there, and illegal fishing is there. All these aspects needs to be addressed, and for that we require this Arabian Sea Forum, and the countries other side also of the Arabian Sea are made to be part of that. Now, with this, my question to the viewers and to the listeners is that how India can influence and control the Arabian Sea in future, because it is a very important aspect for us. It is not only the commercial activity, I call it maritime security, coastal security. 2,500 kilometers of the coastal line is there that needs to be seen. And in this aspect, the role which comes in the naval aspect is already there. I think dominance things is we are doing that. Maybe military, maybe external affairs is the one which needs to be addressed more rigorously on this part. And with this, I thank General Dushyant have given some comments. He's at the airport, so he said all the best to both of us, sir. And then there are certain questions which in the comments which have been generally covered, like Kothari has asked about the plan. I think Sudhakar Jee already covered. Then certain measures on Western Asia, is their future something, and Keating, the navies, Maratha navies, yes, historical aspect which comes in. So most of the questions and comments have been covered up in the discussion. We had Amitesh asked and given some comments on that. So all these aspects have been covered up. Temporary cancel promos, so all these aspects, and Andaman Nicobar, these things are there probably in our discussions at various forums have been covered. With that, I'll now come to the conclusion. There's one question, I think, the days of Cholas and we actually, if you look at it historically, we had a very strong navy. Those who control the sea avenues control the world. That aspect needs to be seen. Even our old texts are there. Chanakya is there. Shivaji is there. Cholas are there thousands of years back. So those who control the sea lanes control the world, because that connects to every part of the world. Because through the land it is difficult, but through the sea it is easier. That needs to be seen. And the requirement which comes in, like what General Sudhakar Jee had said about the Lakshadweep Island. Lakshadweep Islands are the one which is very important for us in controlling the Indian Ocean, in controlling the Arabian Sea, and the passage through that needs to be further enhanced, and it should be commercially activated like a Suez Canal, because there has to be some revenue generation. If we give them facilities for the ship to pass, the revenue generation through that needs to be developed. Some sort of aspect, probably a detailed, I would say, analysis is required. We had covered this aspect in our earlier discussions also. We have to look at the islands what we have, not look at the islands what others have. We develop our own islands, formidable, and then with that the security is inherent. With that the commercial activities is a flow, I would say, the fallout of that security inherence, which is automatically gives a boost to the economic development of the nation. And in the last, I'll request for a concluding remark by General Sudhakar Ji. Over to you, sir.
Uh, Thank you, Virendra. This is a nice question. Somebody, Sam Keating 1718, asked from the days of Cholas Maratha being a dominant power. We are now reticent. Navy is lacking in strength. We are also behind Bangladesh in breaking out. Yes, absolutely. I have been making noise ever since I was in uniform that India will do well if we start understanding the long-term threats. The long-term threats are going to be from the Indian Ocean. We have got 1400 island territories. When I was doing NDC, at the time when I entered NDC, they used to say 570 islands. By the time I finished NDC, after 11 months, they said 1100 some islands. 2 years later, or 3 years later, it came 1200. And 4 5 years later, it became 1400. Now it is 2025. They said it is 1400 islands. So plus the coastal border, the coastline from 7,500 kilometers, it has been revised to have 11,094 kilometers. So there are different means and methods to actually measure the coastal border, coastal boundaries in with professional technical equipment and the modern methods. So when you measure as per that, one found that the actual length was much than what one thought it to be. 7,000. The maps were a very primitive, old standard of maps. So with latest modern technology, new maps, these are the distances which have been measured. And I always maintain that if India wants to become a superpower or a global power, we need to look at the Indian Ocean. If India wants to be safe and sound, we need to look towards the Indian Ocean. If India wants to minimize its radicalization, Bangladesh is, yes, it is becoming a new platform of radicalization. India needs to look at the Indian Ocean. The penetration, the infiltration of the radical elements will always take place from the coastal areas. We have experienced Taj 2611, only one of them. If you study those classified documents, I think they have been already uh, circulated or they are already available in open domain. They had planned attack of 32 more than one uh, establishment or Taj like places, including military installations, including the National Defense College, which is in Delhi. So one has to go into all this, and it was being coordinated by an officer in the MO with the help of ISI, and they had done the training, joint training with Para SF, the 10 people who came to destroy Taj Hotel. So they have similar kind of plan in a different form now. Now the new norm is taking off. The drones and bio warfare, and you have this ricin coming and aerosol of different means and methods are being adopted. So one has to be very, very careful, and we need to cooperate with the government in power the dispensation and help them to remain proactive ahead of the loop. But what I actually missed out is, if you allow me one more minute, people will do well to understand that in Indian Ocean today, the number of warships and equivalent of countries in the world which are running now, okay, as we are talking, is between 120 to 125 warships. I'm talking in Indian Ocean. You'll get figures of 50 to 53. I was really aghast to see some of our official statements by very senior officers. I read somewhere in the open domain, I've lost track of that. They were saying 53 vessels. No, don't underestimate the enemy. There are more than 125, 120 to 125 foreign vessels, warships, which are sailing in the Indian Ocean today in the dimensions which I have given out. Obviously, they will not go very far off from the coastal area. Okay, so this has to be kept in mind. And out of that, I have only counted, open source will say 7 to 8 Chinese vessels. My count is saying it is more than 13 vehicles now, vessels. More than 13 to 14 vessels. Okay, and if you add that civilian, the dual use long distance fishing vessels of China, it goes beyond 2,000. So what does India do? Merely monitoring, statements like monitoring. But can you do that octroi type of duty in Malacca Strait? No, you can't do that. So what can you do? That navigation, surveillance, monitoring movement, and keeping a watch as to what they are doing. Somebody gave a question: why shouldn't we stop NOTAM? And now by stopping NOTAM, in any case, they know everything. There is nothing to hide. They know everything. The only surprise element which will come in any kind of conflict is the time and the place. Where are you going to hit? When are you going to hit? This is as per my understanding. If there is anybody who can further educate me more than this, I'm a student. I would welcome any kind of time and place, which is the only thing which will give you or enable you to retain surprise and achieve success and remain ahead of the loop. Another thing that would do good to us is keep your surveillance platform all weather overlapping, integrated in such a manner that you are able to anticipate rather than waiting for 9/11 that happened on Twin Towers in USA, or A, B, C, D, what happened in 26/11, Galwan or Kargil. We should go into the ecosystem, onto the soils of our adversary, do our military kind of activities, keep an eye on all their activity metrics, and preempt. We should be able to now stop them on the soil of our adversary. Don't allow them to cross the border. In any case, Operation Sindoor has thrown open a new paradigm, new dimension of standoff attack. Without crossing a border, you are attacking with the use of such kind of platforms. So it's going to add on. But even that also, we need to remain ahead of the loop and assist our security apparatus in decision making, and also further the utilization of technology and other important aspects which are coming in a very rapid rate into the existing method of warfare. Thank you so much, Virendra, and well done, and keep it up.
Thank you, sir, and bringing out the aspects which are very important for the maritime security and the commercial activities into the Arabian Sea and Indian Ocean, which forms the further, I would say, the aim plus of the discussion today, the subject by itself. You had brought out a very important aspect regarding drones. Now, drones can be utilized by any boat which is coming into the Arabian Sea. They don't require much of wherewithal. So that threat is omnipresent. It is pertinent. It needs to be addressed in a proper way. That needs to be seen how it is to be done. I was just thinking that uh, if we have an enemy, then the enemy should be SDE. That means he should be subdued, destroyed, eliminated. I repeat, if we have an enemy, he should do SDE with him. That's subdue him, destroy him, eliminate him. So that's why I'm not using this enemy word, because if we have enemy, these three things have needs to be done. And the today's discussion we had covered Arabian Sea in an aspect which needs to be addressed in a maritime security think thought process is required, like the discussion which had come to our Arabian Sea Forum. Arabian Sea Forum, we have the countries, nations across part of that forum, and a general consensus is utilized how to control the Arabian Sea in forms of the piracy, the maritime terrorism is there, illegal fishing is there, a benchmark which needs to be addressed. If it is seen in a way, because Indian Ocean is a huge ocean, a forum cannot be difficult to get it onto place, but Arabian Sea Forum can also take birth, and we should plan it in a way that we will be able to dominate, influence our interest into the Arabian Sea. With that, I first of all thank Gen Sudhakar Jee with his very, very busy schedule. He came onto the show to cover up the aspects. Otherwise, it was like I was feeling handicapped without you, sir. You were there. It's a great thing. Thanks a lot.
Anytime,
Yeah.
anytime.
Yeah, and I thank Yuvraj into the background, who's looking after technical leads, and all the audience and the viewers who are there. Thanks for your comment, and we have been looking forward to your participation in a big way. With that, I sign off. Jai Hind.